Hello, welcome everybody. Welcome to the AstroPub. My name is Paul, Berserker01, Batman Shelley, your humble host and space bartender here at the AstroPub, your space bar at the end of the universe. Sit back, relax, enjoy the show. We got a good one for you. How y'all doing?
You can take away my spaceship.
Spaceship.
You can take away my space suit.
Suit.
You can even take away my space lasers.
No pew-pews.
But you can never,
ever
take away my space game.
Keniac89 just resubscribed for 40 months. 40 months on my 36th birthday. Let's go.
Happy birthday there, Kenny. Thanks for the 40 months of support. Your very important power, very impressive, very pedestrian. This is for all the return drinking night. Shots and cheers and chat, y'all. Shots and cheers. I'm going to step away for a few moments because I realize I need to get some water. I need to get some medicine. I don't know what I have. I don't think it's COVID, but my nose is mostly stopped up and my throat is killing me. So it could be just allergies, but it could also just be a summer cold of some kind. So I'm going to do my best to get through this week because I also need to preserve my voice for work and such. So, but the show must go on. So, Bar Citizen in Nashville today. Wish me luck on my first one. Enjoy it. The Tennessee Bar Citizen people are good people, especially Middle Tennessee. All right, I'll be right back, chat. Don't go anywhere. All right. Whew. There we go. Lucid degree. So, I thought today was a good day for a or this was a good week for a what I'm rebranding it as State of the Verse discussion, where we do just basically an Q&A for the captain's table, where I bring people on, we talk a little bit about our own kind of current experiences with the verse, and then we take question answers from the chat about the current status of Star Citizen. So I am genuinely interested about your current experiences with the game. Is it bad, good? Is it better than it has been in the past? Is it worse? Yeah, I like this vest. I need to get a blue one as well, I think. I have a purple one, I have a red one, and I have a gold one. I need a blue one, and I need yeah, green one wouldn't work because the green screen. Oh, I'm Starlight. Let's do something stupid, chat. I'm pretty sure it's Starlight. Yeah, I'm at Starlight. Smoothest and most stable you've ever seen? I mean, that's if I'm gonna get a real cowboy hat, I'm gonna go up to Dallas, because Buster has said that she knows people in Dallas who have the real cowboy experience. Texas Hatters down in Buda. I'll take a look at that. By the way, that's Buda, not Buddha, for those of you who are in chat. We have some weird pronunciations here in Texas. Like Pflugerville. We also mispronounce shit all the time. Like, it's Manchaca, not Manchac. They moved to Lockhart. Oh. Mima, Texas. Mima, Texas. The PvE bounties are good. Are good. No issue. Very stable. The only issue I had was with shaders not loading, but Alt F4 always did the trick with everything reload. Were you doing? That should fix this problem. Were you using Vulcan? Green, bear, yeah. Yeah, Vulcan is the issue. Vulcan is a problem. It's definitely not ready for prime time. It has a lot of issues. Guadalupe? Yeah. The last I heard, the issues are far bigger than they're actually worth. Starlight Riviera run. Honestly, the only issues I've noticed really are the deep tanks on FPS and pyro locations. Path Foresight's not working, which is the new thing, so it makes sense it's broken. Even Blizzard can't get stuff to not break semi-regularly. And of course, people using physics to glitch in places, which is par for the course for any of them. How do you feel it will be 6 months with very little new tech? I mean, that's what CIG said at the very beginning of the year, that they were not going to be doing new tech. They were going to be focusing on stability. And from what I can tell, it's working. Both in a financial sense and in a sense of, like, popularity. I don't think you're seeing the huge sort of rush of new people coming to play like we've had in the past, but it does feel like we're getting a lot of people coming back. Yeah, the 5 straight months has been the best funding for the per month on record. Now, some of that has to do with the ships they released, which they did pretty good. I think I've always said that there's the thing that CIG needs to do if they wanted to make more money is release more patches, because it always seems like when they release a new patch, they make more money. Even if there's not a huge amount of ships that are released, they make more money. And, like, I would argue that the Fortune wasn't a very popular ship. I think it was fine, but it wasn't, like, the smash hit. And even then, the January, because they released it in January, January did really well. Because a bunch of people wanted to try it out and buy it. I've heard mixed results. More mixed than I thought. Because my thought of the Fortune was always that it's just the Vulture for people who don't like Drake. Well, I have lost internet because of lack of tech and transiency. What are you talking about, Steve? But also, I was here for 318, and, like, that set a new low bar, a low bar, and CIG really hasn't gotten close to unstable for a while. Oh, yeah, that makes sense then, Jim. So I'm going to do 2. Actually, reduce the guns, go for more shields. Oh, shoot. Woo! Okay. My sticks weren't plugged in. I'm going to store this. Hopefully it'll store with these. We won't have as much issues. Good test here. It's not that much of an issue. It's only 500k and I got like 6 mil, so it's not the end of the world.
Welcome to the Astro vehicle retrieval system. Your vehicle has been moving visitors again.
I do own a Cutlass. Once you CC to Vulture or something else, I'll be only Drake ships. I mean, not a Cutlass, of course. Okay, yeah. For me, the game's been performing a lot better. Some irritating bugs, like not being able to turn my ship. But outside of that, it's a lot better than before. Hey, Shemp. Cast duct tape. You plan on dressing up to attend ILW? I mean, yeah. Get out? What do you mean, get out? CH, C Daddy? Hey, Sinful, how you doing? Can we get a shout out for Sinful? She's a new content creator, new streamer, but not new to Star Citizen. Gotta do this. I gotta remember to do that every time I start up. I'm doing good. Yeah, learning to fly is part of the process. Oh. You're brand new to the game. That's normal. Hey, piss poor Pete. They need to fix that. It's been a problem for the longest. You forget to plug your sticks in and it should automatically recognize it. No, it's my fault. That one's my problem because it's like, it's my new rig. It didn't have that problem. My old rig didn't have that problem. It was pretty consistent, but the new rig is a little bit more finicky, so I just have to remember to turn them off and turn them back on again. Sorry, Paul. I was directed at gin and tonic not liking drink. Okay. The old tech guys are fighting, chat. It's a powered USB hub. It is a powered USB hub. So, and there may be some issue with the power somewhere, but it should be a powered USB hub. That's what I'm thinking. There may have been some, like, I may have knocked something loose from the power, like the power cable or something like that, when I built the new rig. I've experienced the dark side of a planet for the first time. I got scared. Yeah, no. We're welcome to the pure darkness of Star Citizen nights. Next, they'll start whipping each other with the VGA cables.
Welcome to the Astro vehicle retrieval system.
What's a medium ship I can pull?
You can take away my spaceship.
Spaceship.
You can take away my space suit.
Suit.
You can even take away my space lasers.
No PPUs.
But you can never,
Never.
ever
Ever.
take away my space game.
For the fortunate. Yeah, I want to. Thank you so much for that. Was that a membership? That was a membership. Thank you, Ven, for becoming a VIP. You're a very important pupper, very impressive pisser, very new pedestrian. You rock. Shots and cheers in chat, y'all. Shots and cheers.
I need to spend some time on my gear. It's been too long since I've done a proper clean of my armor and weapons.
The age-old demand for ship night viz. Yeah, welcome to Star Citizen. Yeah, welcome to the community.
Please visitors again. Welcome to the ASOS vehicle retrieval system. Please visitors again.
Hey, Cat Marine. No, it's Cat. Oh God. Cat 90 cables.
To the ASOS vehicle retrieval system.
And I was flying. I haven't actually set foot on a planet besides the starting area of Area 18. Try to go when the sun is low on the horizon, either dawn or dusk, and you can see CIG's real effort to make a like a really immersive universe. I discovered my my new motherboard has the old I don't know what they're called, but the mouse and keyboard input. The old 3-prong, like circular 3-prong. It has one of those in it, and I was like, what? I haven't seen one of those in years. PS2 ports? Yeah, PS2 ports. Yeah. It's like, this is a brand new motherboard and it has a PS2 port? From what I've heard is that they've been making kind of a comeback because a lot of people use regular USB ports for wireless stuff like that. So there's some inputs that still use it. Some people still use PS2 ports. I don't use MIDI? No. Yeah, because PS2 always works. I'd heard somewhere that, like, I guess professional, like, gamers will use them.
You can take away my spaceship.
Spaceship.
You can take away my space suit.
Suit.
You can even take away my space lasers.
No PPUs.
But you can never, ever take away my space game.
89 Dig Dug just resubscribed for 40 months.
Thank you so much for
bless
that.
you, AstroPub.
Pizza bless you too, 89. You're very important, Papa. Very impressive, Mr. Very pedestrian. This your fault. There's one drinking night. Shots and cheers and chat, y'all. Shots and cheers. The issue I have with the dark side of planets and moons in Star Citizen is they should reflect somewhat realism because it's also cool. Which is, if there's an area that's that dark, meaning there's not enough light pollution, you should be able to see the stars. And the stars should be overwhelming. It's a combo of signal latency and reliability. You never know when you need it. I have them on mine and it's pre-built. If I recall correctly, this combo of signal latency and reliability. I feel like they should add that into Star Citizen, those feelings. If you messed up, it's a wrap. Yeah. I get you, Mook. I know that feeling. It works differently than USB, so the more reliable and works 100% of the time because the keyboard and mouse sends the interrupts to the PC. So if you have a bad USB firmware updates, you would still have the keyboard and mouse and the BIOS screen. Also in factories where there is high interference, they like it because its interference doesn't mess with the signal that much. Huh. Oh god, I'm going to be in daytime in the Golden Riviera. Sweet. So, Sinful, and for those of you who don't know, welcome to Pyro. This is the other star system in-game. Gotta go through a jump point to get here. You flew through it and you almost had a heart attack? Through the quantum jump or the jump point? God, there's a lot of ships here. It's so dark. Okay, most of these ships are like in the little... It's weird. There. That's normal. It's weird, but normal. That's also normal. It's a weird bug where if the fuel tanks are blown up as you get close, they blow up. They render in complete and then they blow up. Is that? Oh, that's just, okay. Okay. Some idiot comrade was smoking by the fuel depot again. My bad. Like, look at that. Thank you, Scotty. You're the one who got it from me. 2 of these. I thought you got it from me, didn't you? Or is it somebody else? Not many 890s rescuing Pyro, eh? Such a weird bug we have right here. I have a fun theory / use case for the new Groot Cat vehicle. What if it had a superior detection technologies and able to share target info with all ground AA missiles? I'd love to see that, but we have to wait until the new scanning technology comes in. Ninetales are just a different type of gang. If it comes in. It'll come in. It's just a matter of when. It'll be an RP vehicle in 411. Yeah, it'll be. You know, it's an LTI token in 411. That's why people will get it. Sunrise. Isn't Ninetales disliked throughout Pyro? Not Xenothreat is. I don't know if they even know about Ninetales or give a shit about them. The Vulcan problem you mentioned, y'all think it's such a big problem that they might revert to DirectX 12? No, because it's a problem they've already fixed or at least mitigated in their internal builds. It's just the internal, they haven't pulled from the main branch of development for 8 months now. What's the meanest gang in Pyro? Define meanest. Probably the most successful is probably the Rough and Ready. It's just straight up bugs, what this is. Yeah, they're mostly in the Crusader area. The reason why we see them everywhere right now is because CIG just didn't have outfits for the other gangs like the Dusters until recently. So the Dusters have taken over a lot of those areas. The scariest are probably the Fire Rats, but then you've got the Headhunters, you've got the most successful is Rough and Ready, which used to be Headhunters. Yeah, they're a cult. They're literally a suicidal cult. In order to join the Fire Rats, you have to intentionally expose yourself to high levels of radiation from the sun and survive. Nice, Sergeant Lobster. Oh, hey, it's just Doc. I didn't see you come in. How you doing? I don't know if they force people to do it, but they definitely, if you want to be part of the gang, you definitely have to do it as part of their initiation ceremony. Like, we kind of have some representation, but, like, they're going to need completely different character models than most of the other gangs. Like, they're going to have to be super scarred. They don't really have scarification in the game yet. That's what I was saying there, Escape. Yeah, Rough and Ready is the most powerful. Most powerful and more successful. They basically run Pyro now that they've taken over Ruin. Yes, the Whispering Caves have significance with Fire Rats. Fire Rats didn't get canceled though. You have seen them if you go to the contested zones. I believe it's Orbit. You can actually see their shrines, in their cathedral. The Headhunters are still the biggest gang in Pyro, yes. Hey, Luna. So it's the question and answer session. So it's like our semi-regular question and answer session where we'll just sort of take questions from the chat. But I've kind of got a good theme for it going from now on, which is state of the verse. The idea being like, what is everyone's current experiences in the game, goods and bads, sort of thing.
Landing gear up.
Isn't it rumored that the overlords or some overlords part of the advocacy? That's one of the rumors. What do you think the biggest shocker with Invictus? It seems like they've been holding ships in the wing to drop feed us, and they might show more of the hand of the event. They'll show more for sure, but I think we're only going to like experience 3 to 4 ships. There's the new flight fighter from Kruger. There's the vehicle from Grey Cat. There's the Starlancer TAC, and then there's the Anvil Asgard. Those are the 4. Is Laura going to attend ILW with a themed uniform? Probably not. I'm definitely going to be doing the lore tours. They're going to be a little bit different than the past. Typically, I like to do them in the afternoon, but because of CIG's scheduling this year, I will be actually at work for most of those in the afternoon. So they'll happen every 2 days, but they'll happen at like 6 p.m. my time's like 7 p.m. Eastern. So they'll be happening a little later. I just like the surprise ships. They do not get properly tested. Yeah, but that's how it is. I'll be avoiding the 400-person DGS at Invictus. I can't. I have to with the lore tours and such. I have heard the horror stories though about how bad that performance is going to be. I always have tour guide dress. Invictus coat, tie and shirt, and nice slacks. Is there a test tomorrow? Possibly. Oh, there is a test tomorrow. Okay. Where does one sell geo resources? You'd have to look it up, but it depends on which ones you're using, but it really depends on the station. I think most of the landing zones buy them. 470 is the record on the Planet server so far in the PTU. Yeah, but what didn't it just shit the bed? Also, for people who will say engineering is not in, I can find engineering without engineering for the ship. You don't worry. Yep, FPS is it's a 5 FPS. It's a slideshow, but at least now the Idris is no fly zone around it. I don't know why they didn't just make it its own like its own hangar. Personally, I feel that engineering is close. Reason is because of the flight blade. No, I agree. People were talking about that on Thursday about like what's the blade? It's like I mentioned that CIG talked about in a monthly report they were kind of trying to make the IFCS a little bit more modular, a little bit more like modifiable, and it's clear that that's what the flight blade is. The flight blade is the result of that initiative to kind of turn IFCS into more like what elite players have with flight assist on and off, but it's a lot more nuanced than that. My guess is that you can just literally swap out some of the blades for better performance in one or the other way. So like ships can have better performance or better handling based on the blade you use. Not like significantly better, because it's also probably based off your ship, but the idea being a lot of the functionality of ships is going to be based off of your blade rather than just a standard built-in function.
You can even take away my space lasers.
No PPUs.
But you can never,
Ever.
take away my space game.
Stekuru just resubscribed for 8 months. Hello, heard you were feeling under the weather yesterday. Hope you're feeling better.
Thank you, Stickaroo. Unfortunately, not really. But, you know, the show must go on. Thank you so much for that 7 months of support. You're very important, Papa, very impressed, Mr. Rainy Pedestrian. This your fault. There's shots and cheers and chat, y'all. Shots and cheers. Hey, he's back, kind of. It blows up a lot. My voice is still kind of shot. I'm taking medicine and stuff like that, but... I'm glad I was like, hey, I'm going to do the sort of state of the verse, you know, check the temperature of the community sort of captain's table, because, like, Freelancer, in my opinion, the Freelancer's problem is its internals suck. That's it. If they improve the internals, the Freelancer would be one of the most popular ships in the game, because it's smaller than just about any other ship that's out there. But has the potential and the ability to haul lots of cargo, and is pretty decent for its firepower. Like, the Freelancer Max is perfect for roles like this, because I'm holding at like 80 SCU. I can do more than that if I really stretched it.
Your vehicle is
And the Miss is another one of those ships that I think, as the game develops, those ships will become super good at what they do. Yeah, if you don't lock it to the main bay, if you don't lock it to the cargo deck, you can put 156 SCU. Last time I saw that, Vulcan. Sorry. PTU HRL2 Metaclinic. So here's the thing, Vulcan. That's not just at that med clinic. It's at all of the med clinics and at all of the medical locations on the ground. All of them have unique dialogue too. So it's all of people freaking out about regen
To the ASOS
and the regen
vehicle
crisis.
retrieval system. Please visit
The cockpit isn't awful. The problem with, like I said, it's most of the problem with the Freelancer series is its internals. It needs a redo where like the front is just 2 seats. They can extend the living quarters back a little bit more. They need to take all of the components and pull them out of the back area where the cargo is, and instead put them in the in that middle section, which you can't really use for like cargo anyways. And they need to make the back turret remote. If they did those things, it would make the Freelancer significantly better, because you could probably put about the same amount of cargo in the back of a Freelancer with the remote turret out, with changing the turret to remote, as you could anyways, but and while swapping out the central area, the middle area, for like a component bay. The 4 seats doesn't make a lot of sense. That's the thing. And the cockpit, if you're talking about the view is fine, but like you only need 2 seats in that thing. Hey, almost 7 mil. The last little bit before we get started, we're going to do delivery mission. Do these 3, and then we'll probably up to 7 mil. Nah, you don't really need the back 2, because it's a 2-person ship, not a 4-person ship. You could easily swap out those 2 back seats for 2 jump seats. So reduce the amount of size where you can still have a pull down seat where people can kind of like that trucker vibe. But by doing that, it means you can move a lot more space to the front. You can like pull out so instead of having 4 beds, you have 2 beds. Which means you get more space for like suit storage, weapon storage, food fab, that kind of thing. Nah, the second seat could be for engineering and for remote turrets. Weapons locker, yeah. Or storage, yeah, and storage as well. So that way that middle section's a little bit easier to access. Hey, Paul, I've got a question for Captain's Table, but I'm about to walk into work. Might be able to type. Can I DM to you or something? Sure, you can DM to me if you want to. I'll do my best to try to remember it. The only problem about this current bot is that it only works when both streams are active. This will get me to 7 mil. See, I don't care about the functionality or rational design. I just think 4 seats look cool. Yeah, I get that. But I mean, the thing is the internals are dated, and also they don't match what the game functionality needs. And that's the thing about MISC, is that MISC isn't really the cool looking thing. It's the functional like group. It's the functional ship manufacturer, so it should be rational and functional like all the other ships.
How are you getting by? Been looking into getting one of those.
And 7 mil.
Compensates bullet drop based off the
Gotta be another offer real quick. Not yet.
How the hell it works, but it's pretty insane tech.
Some things just boggle the mind.
The cockpit makes sense. The cockpit is a budget thing. You don't need an extensive cockpit view if you're just hauling. It's not a fighter ship. You just need to be able to see where you're going, and you can rely on your sensors. Windows are expensive, and they're weak spots. The actual answer is because it needs to have some sort of design features that make it unique. And I've never had a problem with the mail slots. I've always thought that they're like, you don't even notice them really that much. I think people make much ado about nothing, basically. Yeah, the cockpits were bobbleheads. Why not have 4 seats, pilot, co-pilot for tractor beam, and then the back 2 for top remote turret and the rear remote turret? There's only one remote turret on the Freelancer. There's only one turret on the Freelancer. It only really needs 2 seats and maybe an engineering station. I'm done.
Anything new in your world?
Yeah, it's a visual indicator. If you notice, all of the hauling and jack of all trades ships in MISC have the mail slot, and all of the pure industry ships have a bubble cockpit. That's all they're like. That's the whole like shtick. In Mirai is all bubble cockpits or high visibility, that kind of stuff. Same thing. Like I don't think I have heard much, if any, complaints about the Aurora cockpit, even though it's got struts to like forever in the Aurora cockpit. And I think it's because similar to like the mail slot, which is like, while there is struts, you don't really notice it because the way that the struts are placed still gives you plenty of vision, and the struts are very thin in comparison to your vision. You've never noticed that the MISC has different cockpits, but depending on its role, like that is effectively how all of the ship's design works. Like if you look at it, almost all of the ships in for Anvil have the same cockpit. They're slightly different in terms of sizes and in terms of proportions, but they're the same design. The Hornet, the Lightning, the Hawk, the Hurricane, the Valkyrie, they all have the same cockpit. The same cockpit style. I've heard that CIG has quite a bit of funding saved up for advertising, and advertising could be super expensive, and they have to go hard, in my opinion, especially with the negativity and trolls. Yes and no. Like, so from my perspective as a content creator who also worked in marketing, the thing that you have to recognize, and we'll talk about this real quickly before we get started, yeah, is that marketing is very different now than it was 10 years ago. And, you know, most of CIG hasn't released a video game in the last 20 years. So the big thing to keep in mind is that how marketing works these days is if you have a game that's a new IP, your best friend are social media. YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky, Snapchat, people sharing stories, or TikTok especially. People having those moments where people can make those small clips or make a quick comment about stuff or show off some screenshot means a lot. And CIG already has that in the bag with screenshots. They have some really good, they have a really pretty game. So when it comes to advertising this game, CIG is going to have to find ways of getting those people interested in the game. And so traditional advertising won't work. Billboards, TV spots, anything like that is just a waste of money. They're throwing their money into a pit if they do that. The kind of people they want to attract and the kind of people they want to pay attention to will watch YouTube, but YouTube is also sort of it's a tricky thing. They already do use YouTube, and I'm sure it works to a degree because they keep using YouTube and it seems to be working. But it's all about placement of ads. So one of the things that I think they should do, and y'all are going to need to like cope right now on this, is when Squadron 42 comes out, they're going to have to give Squadron 42 to influencers early. They need to find what influencers would work best with Squadron 42, give them copies and give them an embargo date so that they will know the story and all these sorts of things beforehand, so that they will then release that information when the game comes out with like their own weird challenge runs and stuff like that. And that's one of the reasons why CIG needed to avoid at all costs the release of GTA, because GTA will suck that social media atmosphere out of the room. Everything around GTA's release is going to get destroyed. Like I wouldn't put it past political, savvy political people to drop information, unpopular information around the release of GTA 6, because they know that nobody will pay attention to it. I'm not even talking about me, Laughing Tech. I'm talking about other content creators who don't cover Star Citizen as well, because that's who you want. You want people who play games like Skyrim, Mass Effect, what's the new ones that have come out, like Expedition 33. You want people who are known for playing single player games that have a lot of like story elements, that do challenge runs or do speed runs and those kind of things. Well, those are buff. God, you better get one. I mean, if I don't get one, then CIG hasn't given one to other people. I'll just say that. I have enough faith in CIG to know that they'll probably give me an early copy if they're giving out early copies. And if they don't, it'll be a problem. I'll never play or buy GTA games on release. I'm here for day one for Squadron 42. Big Boss, that's great. That's fine. The thing about this, Big Boss, is that it's not about you. It's not about me. It's not about the community who plays the game right now. It's about the social media environment when Squadron 42 releases. I'll give you a great example of this. Baldur's Gate 3. The team who made Baldur's Gate 3 initially were going to release it in September, which would have basically put them head-to-head with Starfield. Now, on paper, BG3 and Starfield are nothing alike. Fantasy MMO CRPG versus space-based modern, action RPG. They shouldn't be competing at all. But Lyrian really knew what the fuck they were doing, because they're like, we are going to be super reliant on word of mouth to promote our game. Because we already have fan base. We already have people who have basically been playing BG3 forever because of like the early access stuff. What they needed was fresh eyes. So they had a passionate fan base, like Star Citizen does, and they decided to push the release date ahead of the release of Starfield so that they could make sure they have some attention for Starfield before Starfield actually released. And because Bethesda, they didn't know that Bethesda was going to stumble over Starfield. They thought that Bethesda was going to release Skyrim, because like it would have. I remember when Fallout 3 released, it was basically like no other game was out, because everyone was playing Fallout 3, and it was, or not Fallout 3, Fallout 4. But because most people, even though Fallout 4 sort of died off eventually, it still got its fans and still has it's still somewhat popular. No one knew that Starfield was going to implode like it did, or just sort of fizzle like it did. So that is an example of how you need to do these things. Even though they weren't the same game and weren't even the same markets, by doing what they did, they ensured that they were already getting good word of mouth and became one of the biggest releases of 2023? Or is that 2024? I think it was 2023. Yeah, 2023. Whereas a negative example of this is Titanfall 2. Titanfall 2 was given almost no early warning. It had a bunch of advertisements, but it was all traditional advertisements. And EA released it the week after Battlefield 1 dropped and a week before Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. It flopped. Titanfall 2, which I will go to my death saying is one of the best games ever made, died because EA was using it as a roadblock. Its release is the reason why it failed. So with both of those examples on hand, nobody, especially CIG, should try to go head to head with GTA. The release date of Squadron 42 is much more important. Well, it's as important, I'll say, as the actual status of the game. Because like when it releases, it has to be good and bug-free and, enjoyable. But if it's good and bug-free and releases alongside another title which was much more anticipated and has a lot more like fan base, it will get crushed. It has the advantage that it can sort of be good and so slowly build up its reputation, but it needs that initial early sort of push of social media, like ramp up in order for it to be able to take off and then continue to soar. It needs to ramp up into popularity rather than go straight up. And that ramp requires a good release date. Do I think Star 142 will show up on Steam? I know it'll show up on Steam. Is it still relevant to do Xmas release, or is it too old thought now? It's not a bad thought. Most people have the most money around that time, so they can buy things, and they have the most time around that time. But you're seeing a lot of people move away from that time because it's just also a bad time for how games are developed these days. But problem is Squadron 42 is more of a movie than a game. Cite sources, please, Steve, that answer. Because that's not the case. Not from what I know internally, from people talking, and also from my own leaked experience, because I have some of it. Last year's demo was as a prelude. It was the prologue. The game, once you get onto the Stanton, is very much not a movie in the same traditional Chris Roberts sense. It still has cutscenes and heavy in terms of like narrative, but that is narrative with the player character involvement rather than remove you from it. Yeah, it's setting. It's more of a getting you into the universe. What are the stakes of the universe? And how I know how you know I know this is because I was talking about the first 3 chapters of Squadron 42 2 years ago and saying that, And then suddenly the prologue comes out and completely validates everything I was saying. Chapter 2 is also a little bit less action-y. The second mission is a little bit less action-y and a little bit more establishment, and same with 3. I know more than I should. Yeah. There's at least 2 people who work on Squadron who've reached out to me where I said, blah, what about blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. They're like, what? What do you mean? And then later they came back to me like, how the fuck did you know all of these things? I work on this game. I didn't even know those things. It's like, yeah, I fucking know all of your game. No, they don't want to hire me to make lore. I wouldn't be a good person for that. What I will say is that Squadron 42, from what I understand, will scratch the itch of the Mass Effect, of that Mass Effect experience. With, yes, some cinematic moments and all that kind of stuff. It's still Chris Roberts' game, but surprisingly more restrained than previous Chris Roberts games. You just have to say, I'm the all-seeing of Star Citizen, right? Do you think we'll get a new... do you think you get a new system in 2025? Yeah, I think we'll still get Nix. I think at the very least, we'll get it in preview at the end of the year. It's almost like you're under NDA about some stuff. I am. But CIG made the mistake of that a lot of those NDA stuff was 2 years, and that shit's been expired 2 years ago. But I also, the stuff I know that CIG has showed me under NDA because of tours and stuff like that I've done in the past, I'm not going to tell you because it's a spoiler. Like, fuck that. There's no point in spoiling that part for you because you want to experience it yourself. What I'm trying to do is mostly make sure that people have the right expectations. And a lot of people came under the expectation that Squadron 42 is just a movie and not a video game. And it's like, that's not how the game is designed. Yeah, you can find all this information. There's a lot of information. If you want to go looking for it, you can find a lot of this information. But very interesting. This was all the first time I've seen the Idris P. All the other times Idris M's were getting paint. Are we getting paint this Fleet Week? I don't know. See, that's one of those things where it's like the Idris P could come out. I don't think it's going to come out, but it could. Interactive movie, yeah. It's Chris Roberts' previous games. Are they developing Chapter 2 and 3 yet, or are they waiting to push Chapter 1 out the door? As far as I know, the it's a stupid name because the missions are called chapters, and last we heard, Chris is calling the 3 games in the Squadron 42 series Chapter 1, 2, and 3. It's really Act 1, 2, and 3. But as far as I know, Part 2 and Part 3 are just penned but not being worked on. No, they haven't done a scan of me, no. I understand where you're coming from. My 14-year-old daughter is playing Oblivion, and she keeps asking me for spoilers, and I'm not telling her anything as I watch her play it. Yeah. The expectation setting, I will say, is don't expect Squadron 42 to be Last of Us. You know, it's not God of War. You're not going to look at some sort of emotional, well-crafted experience where you're like, you know, on a hero's journey. That's not this game. This game is an adventure game. It's an action-adventure game where you're just a dude or a dudette in space. The right man in the wrong place at the right time. Or the right man or woman in the wrong place at the right time. That's it. You're not the Master Chief. You're not the hero of Kvatch. You are Starman. Starman or not even Starman. By the time you leave the first 3 chapters, you're Lieutenant. You're just Lieutenant. You're Butterbars. Butterbars McGee. Out in space. There's no emotions in space. Yeah. I mean, there's emotions, but it's like the most I can tell about the story is that things will happen to people around you that you have to face the consequences of. And you are often the reason why those things happen to those people because you had to make a decision. Are the other two Squadron 42 games continuations to the story for the first one? Yes, they are continuations to the story of the first one. Because the original Squadron 42 game was written as one block, and then Aaron Roberts came in and said, absolutely the fuck not, and so they split it up. So I can tell you the general progression based off of the original pitch is that you each part is going to be you moving up the ranks. So in the first part, you're lieutenant, you're on the Stanton, which is an Idris, and you're flying a Gladius. The second part is a different ship, probably a Javelin. Originally, it was going to be the Pegasus, so it might be another carrier, where you might be flying like an F-7A. And then in the last part is you're on a Bengal, and you're flying an F-8 Lightning. That was the whole progression. And there would be options for other ships you could like fly and stuff like that, or you might have encounter. But that was the general progression of the game that was supposed to be, which is very similar to what happens in Wing Commander. But as the game got shrunk in terms of each of these different parts, part one is just you and the Stanton. It's your story on the Stanton. So for the story, expect DMC, not The Last of Us. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. It's Devil May Cry, but less campy, which is fine. There's a lot of humor. There is a lot of humor in it. There's a lot of good character work that they've done for Squadron. You will care about the characters, but they're not going to be like super four-dimensional characters. They're gonna be kind of 2D, 2.5D. Hey, Wookie. What was your favorite Wing Commander? 1. 2 is pretty good, but 1's still my favorite. Speaking of, Sir Copley says they should make Scooter their Master Chief. He would make Daymar proud. Speaking of Scooter. Hey, Wookie, how you doing? But yeah, not as big as I was thinking it would be. It's the first great humor line. We already met him. Morrow. Chief Engineer Morrow of the Stanton. He's a character. He's a great character. Him and Webb are great characters. They're kind of the Scotty character, but they're like a bickering couple who aren't a couple, who are both like dealing with it. Like Morrow is very much the gossip, the ship gossip, but he's also very kind. Everyone likes him, right? And no one likes Webb. He's a bitch. She's a cunt. And but she gets her job done, whereas Morrow kind of fucks around too much. But together they're really good, a good dynamic duo to keeping the Stanton running. A story sort of between Star Wars and Expanse, maybe something like that, maybe. Yeah. I finally watched the Wing Commander movie for the first time a month ago. I was pleasantly surprised. It's a solid little action sci-fi flick. Yeah, I've always said that it's a good B movie. It's a solid action B movie, but they wasted the actors, especially like the main actors, because like the most interesting part about the Wing Commander movie is not the fucking fighter pilots, which is the problem because it's Wing Commander. You're supposed to care about the fighter pilots, but the fighter pilots are the most lame part of the whole thing. All right, so it's going to be 45 at the top of the hour. like knowing what Lillard and Prince are able to do, Freddie Prinze Jr. are able to do in terms of their acting chops, they were wasted. And I'm sorry, the designs of the fighters should have been better. That was definitely a design decision based off of budget. Like, what I would say is Star Citizen or Squad 42 is the Wing Commander game and movie that Chris wasn't able to make. Apparently, he does not like Chris. Freddie Prinze Jr. and Chris do not get along. Him and neither does Matthew Lillard. They don't really like each other. They didn't have a good experience. What do you think of GTA being delayed to 2026? Same as Squad 42? I expect Squad 42 to release sometime in 2026, but I also expect it to be delayed to 2027. I expect Squadron 42 to release in February to May of 2027, but to have a release date announced for the end of 2026, sometime at the end of this year or early next year. Because I think they'll be finished with the game at the end of 2026. All of the people I know who work on Squadron who've talked to me about it say, no, we're fucking getting it done. Like, this is not a fucking conversation. We're getting this shit done. And like, even Chris is like, yeah, let's stop playing games and get the shit done. So they are in lock-in mode for making the game finished. So it's coming in 2026. The issue is more, will it be ready in 2026? If they delay again, I think most people will walk away and not care anymore. I doubt that, because if they have an announced date for like a release of the game and it like a specific release and they're like, hey, we need like 3 or more months to get it done, so it's just going to be coming out in like April, that's a different experience from saying 2026 and then you just do not have a date and then they just delay it again. That's different from it's coming out in September of 2026 and then, or like September 12th, 2026, and then they go, wait, we need to like couple more months of February, 14th, 2026, 2027, like, oh, okay, that's different. A lot of games have experienced that. That's not a Squadron or Star Citizen or CIG centric thing. That happens all the time. It happened to Cyberpunk. It happened to Starfield. It happened to, it's happened to pretty much every major game that's released. Yeah, they delayed Dune. They delayed the Mech Warrior clans got delayed too. The thing is that Rasek's right. Like, jaded fans, Star Citizen fans will feel that way, but the reality is that most people who are going to buy Squadron 42 are people who don't know it exists yet. You could just see the reaction to the video from CitizenCon, where like on like IGN, where people are like, "Holy shit, this game looks amazing! I can't wait to play it." Like people didn't know it was associated with Star Citizen because there's like probably 50% of the fan base of Star Citizen doesn't even know that Squadron 42 exists. They delayed Ghost Bears? No, they delayed the MechWarrior 5 clans. They're not the Ghost Bear expansion, the first one. The biggest issue with delaying Squadron 42, Squadron 227 is the loan they got is due in 2027. And it really depends on a lot of different factors. I can still see it happening in 2027, but like, if I was to say when in 2026 Squadron 42 is going to release, based off of the conversations I've had, October of 2026, CitizenCon 2026. No, that would be a bad idea. Invictus 2026 would put it literally at the same time as GTA. That would spell the death of Squadron. That would be Titanfall 2 in it, and you don't want Titanfall 2 it. Pappy's good. I like Pappy too. No, that's a misnomer there, KCE. It wasn't. Star Citizen was always Squadron 42 and Star Citizen combined. There's just this rumor, this myth that Squadron 42 was the first thing, and then Star Citizen was made. It seems like they were both being made at the same time. That Chris had an idea of just, why not I do Wing Commander and Freelancer at the same time, just make them into one game. Yeah, it has to be months before or months after GTA 6. GTA 6 is delayed to May 2026. Yeah. So Invictus 2026 would be a bad idea. That's what I'm saying. Because Invictus would be May of 2026. I would say most backers over time back for Star Citizen, though. I agree. I think there's some of the early backers back for Squadron, but most people back for Star Citizen. But you got to remember that originally Star Citizen and Squadron 42 were the same game. Squadron 42 was just the single player experience of Star Citizen. So it was like a, narrative, Wing Commander-like experience. Even the way that Chris would describe how you start the game, you would start Star Citizen where you start in a bathroom, and that would be the character creator, and then you'd walk out of the bathroom and you'd be offered a pamphlet to join the UE Navy, and then you would, if you accepted that pamphlet, you would go play Squadron 42, and if you rejected it, you would just go into Star Citizen. So that was originally supposed to be like literally linked together to play the game. Like it was going to be both games at once. And then they split them off because of how they've kind of worked. Well, so if CIG starts planning CitizenCon 2026, then GTA 6 gets delayed again. That's going to keep being a problem. I don't see GTA 6 getting delayed again. Based off of what I've heard in terms of people who know people inside Rockstar have been posting online, people like Jason Schreier, no, they're actually, like May sounds about right. They wouldn't have hit the fucking specific date if they didn't know when they were releasing it. Apparently, Rockstar learned their mistake, and they're not crunching GTA 6 because of all the horror stories that came out for Red Dead Redemption. They aren't actually crunching. When Squadron 42 releases, and if it's great, it's going to attract a whole new set of players that would never ever even play an MMO. That's what I've been saying for a while. There's going to be two different player bases. There's Star Citizen and Squadron 42. There will be two different fan bases. Many of us will float between the two, but there'll be people who only are interested in Squadron 42 content and people who are only interested in Star Citizen, and they'll hate each other. How do I know this? Fallout 76. The Fallout community is absolutely in a civil war with itself, because some content creators and fans will play both, but the vast majority are either I only play Fallout the single player games, or I only play 76. Now, I get you, Alex, but as I explained earlier, it's not really about PC or even the genre. Like, fucking movies and television shows releasing around the same time as GTA 6 are gonna fucking fail. It's gonna suck the air out of the room. Fallout 76 is a changed game from launch. That is 100% true. But just like there are people in Star Citizen who still call No Man's Sky No Man's Lie because they don't realize how much it's changed. People just, especially in the Fallout community, got burned and they don't like it. All right, I'm gonna go get some water. I'm gonna move over to captain's table though, and I'll be right back, chat. The last thing I will say is that I think, based off of vibes and what I'm gathering, the notion that CIG is trying to get Squadron Star Citizen in a good place so that when Squadron releases, it'll be a good game. I do not think they think like that. I think they just legitimately want to improve the quality of Star Citizen. That's it. There's not some grand conspiracy where they need to get Star Citizen to be playable before Squadron. I from what I've heard, that's kind of like those two teams don't really talk like that or like think like that. It's just Squadron and Star Citizen are both pushing for their final like releases. That's it. Like, that's it. congratulations. For those of you who said no sound, you've been paying attention. That is what we do when I'm doing these testing stuff. So listen to music for a little bit longer. We'll get started here in like 3 or 4 minutes. All right, chat. We're gonna, for those of you on YouTube, we're going to be switching over to the Captain's Table YouTube. So you'll be dumped automatically in there, and then we'll get once we get started, we'll get started.